Hello everyone. So I think now the board should work as well. So I am back with a new video. I will continue showing games in the Queen's Gambit Declined in this Carlsbad structure. And yeah, this game will be a little bit different from the previous one in the sense that here Black will play more actively and he will try to stop this e4 idea. Let's see how it works in practice. So d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight c3, d5. This is also a possible move order to reach the Carlsbad structure. cd, d, bishop g5. I forgot to say, but this is a very high-level game between Ivan Cheparinov and Wang Hao. So c6, e3, bishop e7, bishop d3, knight e7, knight e2, knight f8. It's a little move order finesse that basically Black's goal with this knight f8 is that he wants the knight on e6 as we saw in the previous game, but for that in the previous game Black had to castle and play rook e8. Now all of these things will be possible without rook e8. So that's the point of this move. It also has its drawbacks, but it's a quite normal move, so nothing shocking about it. It's a short castle, knight e6, bishop h4, castle, f3, and b6. So Black plays similarly to the previous game. Cheparinov played king h1, g6. So everything is very similar, I would say, but there is one nice detail here for white, which is good to understand that. Okay, once again, this rook is on f8 and not on e8. So what does it mean? It means that, for example, let me just make these moves like queen c2, rook e8, rook a d1. So if when the rook is on e8, then this c5 always can be met by this bishop b5, which is quite annoying. So it's not only winning a tempo on the rook, but it stops this c4 idea, opens the rook to attack the d5 pawn. So this type of tempo will be not available for white as long as the rook is not on e8. So it makes a lot of sense not to play queen c2 right away in this situation when the rook is not there, but just first do other moves. For example, bishop f2 was played by Cheparinov, extremely logical. So he's doing, so to say, the other side of the plan with this queen c2, rook a d1. So he's preparing for e4, and it's pretty much already a threat, I would say. So it's like really in the air, because e4 protected, knight g4, there is bishop g1. So it's already time for Black to address this idea, and he did. So Wang Hao played c5 here. So that's the point of playing with b6. So now if white takes with a d pawn on c5, then Black is not taking back with the piece, but with the b pawn he will have hanging pawns with a very complicated position. And now we can see that this small finesses by Cheparinov, starting by king h1 and bishop f2, made it possible that he doesn't have to waste time now from moving the queen from the c2 square, because it's simply not there, and it would be like not very logical to put it there now because it traps our bishop on d3. So he played queen d2. We can already see that it will be like different than in our previous game. Black played c5, so e4 will be never that clean or never that easy to achieve. But okay, white's idea is not changing, so still to play rook a d1 and then e4, and that's what we want. So our pieces are positioned for that particular goal. So Wang Hao here played bishop b7. Of course, another possibility is to simplify on cd4. It can look like, that a safe choice to equalize, but actually these positions are very tough, in my opinion, for black. So knight takes on d4, knight takes on d4, ed4. So we get into this position, and I would say that if, let's say this pawn is back on g7 and this pawn is back on b7, then black is quite close to equality. Maybe even equal in that case. But these two pawn moves are weakening so much his position. For example, c6 square is a very annoying target. Queen can many times just go to h6, and in general, this bishop h4 idea is a plan for white. And white just has very simple moves like playing rook e1, again bishop h4, rook c1, maybe knight b5. So white has a lot of targets with a little bit different placement of black's pieces and pawns. It could be, like very close to equal because of the symmetry, but in this particular situation, I would say that black is pretty far from achieving it because of the holes in his position. So it's not very annoying for us. And if the other move is, of course, c4, so that's completely changing the character of the game. Suddenly, it is white. It is gonna be black who has the majority on the queen side, but it has a very serious drawback, of course, this pawn, that once we play bishop c2, there is no pressure on our center anymore, and e4 is coming no matter what in the next move. And then, while maybe black can, start to push the pawns on the queen side, if we start pushing here, the king, attacking the king is like always more dangerous than attacking the king side, if you like start around the same time, I would say. And here it will be white who starts even earlier. So c4 is something we should pay attention to. It's a serious idea to make the position double-edged, but at this moment it is simply too early. So Wang Hao played bishop b7, rook a d1, and a6. So a6 is like a clear indication that he wants to go for this c4 and b5 idea and push the pawns and go for a very double-edged game. And I really like what Cheparinov did here. It's a smart little prophylactic move. He played bishop to c2. So what is the point of the move? So first of all, if c4 comes, then we have the time to react in a way we want. And it's not only e4, which again would lead to, it's a significantly improved version for black because he's already playing b5. So now we are really starting at the same time, so to say. And I still prefer white's chances because attacking the king is more dangerous, but black has counterplay for sure. But there is a very nice positional idea to play b3. And just before black could play this move b4, and to create, let's say, a protected passer on c3, which would be like horribly annoying, we are undermining this c4 pawn. And if b5 comes, then after b takes on c4, so bc4 is like a strategical catastrophe for black, I would say, because the pawn is not going anywhere. So there is nothing on the queen side, and we can already play e4. So now we are attacking and black is doing nothing. This is not advisable. And in case of dc4, we again play e4. And the thing is that now both pawns are free, so like this can run extremely fast, while this pawn can go to b4, but after knight a4, c3, it is well blockaded by our bishop. So once again, our pieces can establish a nice blockade, while this pawn has huge flexibility in the center. And yeah, I mean, it's just an extremely difficult to play, practically speaking, for black. Not speaking about that, even computer says it's a big advantage for white, so even objectively it's very tough. So that was Cheparinov's idea, and of course black can also play cb3, but that's a tough move to make. I would say to give up that basically almost central pawn for a b3 pawn, and after bishop b3, let's say b5. So the point of black is that if he play e4, he can counter it with b4. So not so easy to quickly play e4, but okay, we have the time. Again, black is not going anywhere on the queen side. We can remaneuver the knight to d3, squares like c5 or e5, bring the rook to e1, maybe then improve the bishop and then push for e4. So it's again not a dream for black. Nevertheless, probably this was the way to go, or at least one possible way to go for black. Another, which is maybe better, is to keep the tension with rook c8. So basically, this move is just bringing the rook into the game, not committing to anything yet. And if white goes to e4, which probably he should do, then after some exchanges, the position will be still pretty complicated. So let's say d takes on e4, fe4, cd. So yeah, if you compare this with the previous game of the series when black's pawn was on c6, now this cd4 is a big improvement. And after knight d4, let's say knight g4, bishop g1, bishop c5, just one possible variation, queen e2, queen g5. Let's say we take on e6 and bishop b3. It is still more pleasant for white, but black also has some activity maybe, and it's not such a bad position for black, but white is better here. So rook c8 or c4 would have been the correct way to go. Wang Hao played rook e8. I mean, it also makes actually a lot of sense in a way, but it's actually not working. So that's the main problem. So it works pretty well with a6. Why? Because now, anytime the bishop would attack the rook, the black can just push b5. So the rook now is, so to say, safe on e8. It cannot be kicked, and okay, like why to sit on f8 when you can activate the rook? That sounds logical, but unfortunately there are some other factors in the position, and that is the weakness of the f7 square. And once we play e4 and the f file is opening up, it's really important for black to have that square under control in some way. And in this case, it would have been the best with the rook. So that's why it's a mistake, and actually Cheparinov also did not react in the correct way. So he did everything very, very nicely so far. Not putting the queen on c2, having this bishop c2 in reserve, playing king h1, bishop f2, so being ready to push e4, and simply his position is ready at this moment to go for the complications and go for e4, which will work out in his favor because of this f7 square. So let's see a few variations. So he plays e4. So basically, if black is not reacting, we play e5, we play f4, we play f5, and we checkmate. So there is not much to talk about there. So cd4 or de4 are the options. So let's see what happens if black plays c takes on d4. So we take with the knight. And now black has to take again on d4 or e4. So let's say he takes on e4. Then we take back with the f pawn. So our structure is worse, and optically speaking, it doesn't look that appealing for white, but simply the fact that this rook is opened and we are somewhat ahead in development, also the queen is quite badly placed, guarantees a big edge for white. So one variation, for example, is knight c5, then we play queen to e3, And even though black can take on e4, it's not really working for him. Knight takes e4, bishop takes. So the point is that if we take back with the bishop, black has this very nice intermediate move, bishop g5, and he will take on e4 and has a completely fine position. But white has a nice discovered attack on the queen with knight f5. And after queen c8, bishop e4, knight takes e4. Again, if we take on e7, rook e7 is not so simple, but we have knight h6, king g7, queen e4, king takes on h6, and now a nice move, bishop d4. So basically cutting the king's way back to safety and kind of unbelievably computer can play a few more moves here with black. I mean, position is much worse for black, but a human would think that it's just collapsing in a few moves, which in a practical game probably would happen. So this is simply not good. So that's if d takes on e4. So black can also take knight takes on d4, and bishop d4, d4, and after fe4, basically the game is over completely. If I remember correctly, computer is saying like plus 13 or something in this position, which basically like up a queen and some more material for white. The knight is loose. This pawn should be on g7, but it's not. Some queen f2, bishop b3, and e pawn can go. The position is hopeless, and it's basically game over in a few moves. I looked at knight h5, but here even rook f7, king f7, bishop b3, king f8, queen h6 with checkmate to follow. So yeah, position is that bad in this case, and all because of this pawn is not protected. So this was c takes d4. Other logical move is de, fe4, and now knight g4. So this idea from black also looks logical. We have to keep the bishop, of course. Bishop g5, queen d3, c d4, knight d4. And once again, it looks like that cannot be too bad for black. That's why this e4 move was definitely not an easy one. And Cheparinov, super strong player, like around 2700, did not make it. It shows that it was not so easy. But once we trust our position that okay, it just should work somehow because we did all things correct and opponent leaves f7, then it can work and we can find. So here knight e5 is one possibility. Other possibility is to take on d4, bishop d4, queen b8. So black is even making a counter threat, but now very strong move e5. So opening some more diagonals, maybe e4 square for the knight and preventing mate, of course. Knight e5, queen g3, bishop h6, and then bishop b3 is kind of the decisive move here. So once again on the f7 square, black's position is falling apart. So let's say bishop g7, takes, queen h4, and there is nothing to protect on f7. So rook goes to f8, and we can already take. And we are giving checkmate in a couple of moves, depending where the black king goes. So this is also not good. So knight e5 is my main line. We go queen g3, and everything looks good for black at this moment, but he has to resign actually. So too many pieces are hanging. So first of all, we have threats with the knight. This knight is hanging. This bishop is loose on g5. Bishop b3 can come, but once again, we will not even reach that moment when bishop b3 will come. Simply like, let's say knight takes on d4, bishop d4, and no, it's simply too much. Okay, maybe if queen e7, then we reach this moment that for 1 second we have to attack there, and after bishop e5, like rook d7, position is completely losing for black. So okay, many interesting lines after e4, but all works out in the favor of white. So yeah, this simply our pieces were ready for this push in the center. So instead, Cheparinov played rook e1, which is a little bit slow. Rook c8. The position is not so easy anymore. So now it's very critical at this moment. So normally, as I also showed in the previous video, this rook f1 is not necessarily the preparation to push e4. Because once we push e4, this rook is doing an amazing job here. So that's the nice thing about rooks, that we don't necessarily have to move them. They just can become active like by the work of the pawns, so to say. So rook e1, rook c8, now e4 is nothing. So he went for this dc, bc, bishop a4 idea. So now the rook eventually had to go back to f8, but black achieved a lot. So he has this hanging pawn position, which looks like very well protected and controlling all the central squares. That's a very nice advantage of the hanging pawns, that basically is controlling all the squares. So bishop b3, queen b6 he played. He could have simply played c4 as well. So that's true that he gives up d4 square, but let's say after queen a5, knight d4, black has a lot of moves to reach a complex position, let's say like rook d8. The position is super complicated, and c4 is not such a big threat anymore. Probably not at all. Game rather has a positional way. Maybe at some moment we have to go back to h4 or play some a3, knight e2. I would say the position is with mutual chances here. Queen b6, of course, is also not so bad. Now knight f4, trying to make the game sharper, and knight c7. Yeah, that move doesn't feel correct. So going backwards in such a sharp situation when it's so concrete normally is not the right choice. Probably he did not want to take on f4, which is maybe the best move, because after ef4 there is a problem on e7 and black is losing a pawn eventually, but the position will be fine. So rook e8, and the computer is not impressed. After bishop a4, bishop c6. So this is the way that black gives up a pawn, but after something like queen b5, we only have an extra pawn like that, a doubled f pawn. Bishop will come to f6. This pawn is hanging. Black is holding relatively easily in this position, actually. So knight c7, it was a mistake, and for the second time, so for the second chance he was given in this game, Cheparinov is not missing the chance once again. It really feels like that everything is located as it should be, so it's time to push e4. And he did that. Very strong move. So black goes a little bit into passivity, and then we push. So the point here is that if d4, so it's a protected pass pawn, but there is knight a4, queen b5, and let's say queen c2. So the problem is that our pieces are perfect for the blockade, and these pawns are not going anywhere, while we can once again start thinking about pushing the king side, or just try to attack the c5 pawn by rook c1. So black's position is pretty much stuck here. So instead he tried d4, which is more logical, fe4, rook d8, and now knight d5. Knight takes, e takes. So now we have a well supported passed pawn, which of course also has some tactical ideas by going to d6 and then opening up to the f7 square. And the black has this weak pawns on the queen side, which we can attack. Also, again, the f-file is open, so suddenly our pieces are more active, and black, especially the bishops, are pretty passive or badly placed at this moment. So queen c7 was played, getting away from the bishop's diagonal, but the bishop is following. Bishop g3, bishop d6, pawn has to be blockaded, but now bishop h4. Of course, the playing bishop e7 here is is not very advisable. I mean, it's almost like fails to instantly to rook e7. It just feels like that this thing is so weak here that it just has to work, and after queen f4 followed by rook f1 or knight e4, black is losing the game on f6. So Wang Hao had this idea of bishop f4, and now you can stop the video and try to find what was the move of Cheparinov in this position. The rest of the game he really played very nicely. So he faced an intermediate move and he replied with an intermediate move, rook e7. Extremely strong move. Okay, so the point, if bishop takes d2, then simply rook c7 and all minor pieces of black are hanging. So that's not good. And if queen takes e7, we just transpose to this position which I showed to you. That okay, king g7 is simply losing completely because of rook f1. Rook d6 also because of rook f1. There is this knight h5 which is the best, but it simply leads to losing. Endgame, knight takes on f4, and now the rooks cannot escape, so white just improves the position with king g1. And after rook e8 takes, let's say knight a4, and white is going to win material because the d pawn, no matter how black takes, there is simply knight back to c3 using the pin and winning material. So rook e7, very nice. Queen d6. Position is still in a huge tension. Queen e1. So we protect the rook and at the same time we attack the bishop on b7. Wang Hao played bishop c8, and now again you can stop the video a little bit and try to figure out how could the white proceed here. So a second very strong move with this rook, now rook e6. So basically highlighting the tactical power of this d5 pawn, and basically white's idea is to make by this sacrifice all the remaining pieces active. It's an extremely nice move. Wang Hao took with the bishop. If he would have taken with the pawn, then the diagonal is opening up for the king. So d e6, now e7 is a deadly threat, so queen e7 has to be played. And we already saw this motive a few times, so it will not come by surprise anymore that the rook is again, with the help of the pawn, destabilizing the blockade, or like basically stopping the blockade. This rook has to be taken, otherwise e7 is coming or the queen is lost. So bishop takes, e takes, d7 check, and the queen is lost here. It has to go to f7, bishop takes, rook takes, bishop f6, rook f6, and there are millions of ways winning here for white, but I would say one move is good to make g3, so we are not blundering back rank mate, and then okay, everyone can win as he or she wants. I mean, the black's position is just collapsing, but just not to blunder the back rank. So Wang Hao played bishop e6, now d e6, attacking the queen, and queen e5 was played, and now the last nice move, e7. So basically this pawn is protected by the queen, and we will take one of the rooks with a tempo, and that's decisive material advantage. So they played on a few more moves. Rook takes d1, check, and it's a piece up. So g5, bishop f2, queen e2, and at this moment Wang Hao resigned. I mean, his position is falling apart everywhere, so there is not much sense to continue. So very, very nice finish by Cheparinov, who, in my opinion, played a very strong game. The only one moment, but what is really interesting for us is that when this rook e8 happened, then we should really seriously consider, and I would say it's impossible to, to calculate or foresee all these tactics and traits and everything, but we just in such case when it feels like that we cannot improve the position, we just have to trust that because of the weakness of f7 there will be something for us. There should be simply something. So that could be an instructive point of this game. I hope you like this game, and see you soon with some new video.